Hi, my name is Wilma Castillo, and I'm here with Mr. Howard Knepper, who is running for the U.S. Senate as a Republican for the state of Florida. Now, he has agreed to sit down with me and go over some issues that is not only affecting the people of the state of Florida, but our fellow Americans.
That's correct.
Thank you so much for having us.
My pleasure.
All right, so we were listening prior to us sitting down to your speech and how passionate you are about the whole election process. Do you mind elaborating what drives you? What made you want to run for the U.S. Senate?
Well, first of all, in reference to the speech, I think the speech speaks for itself. My displeasure with Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader, is very clear, and I said that I would do something about it, and I did. The Senate Ethics Committee will decide whether they need to do an investigation, and the Federal Election Commission will decide if they want to go forward with any type of an investigation. Now, I'm passionate about running for the Senate for the following reasons. Number one, I've been very fortunate in my lifetime in Florida for 30 years to be successful in business. I am not married. I don't have a big family. And I want to give back to the people of Florida and help the people in this country. We have a lot of problems, and I am at the stage in my life at 55 years old that I can give back. And one of the ways that you give back is to serve your country in an elected office. So I feel, and I've always felt, that the right office for me now would be the Senate. So I'm very passionate. I also feel that the current Senator, Marco Rubio, let down the people of Florida. His record is very clear. It's 15% voting record on the Senate floor, which is the worst record on the Senate floor, or at least one of the worst. And he went for 6 years supposing to represent the people of Florida, and he didn't do it. So the people of Florida deserve more than this. What I will say is that if you're in business or you're in public office, you have to dedicate yourself 100% of the time. Now, if you're in business and you don't do what you're supposed to do, then you go out of business. But when you're an elected official and you're not working full-time, you're letting down millions of people that put you in that office. So when he decided to get frustrated with the Senate, as he stated, he was frustrated after a year of the Senate and the Congress. He was not just walking away from something he didn't like personally. He hurt a lot of people that voted for him and sent him to Washington. So you can't do that. If you're an elected official, you have to work hard every single day. It's not always going to be good, but you've got a lot of people that you are responsible for. And I would like to say one other thing in reference to this. When you have problems, you can't stop working because those problems keep going on. Florida has, just like the rest of the country, we have problems with environment, we have problems with jobs, national security, keeping the people of Florida safe, Social Security safe, people that have problems ranging from health issues. So while Mr. Rubio decided that he was frustrated and wanted to do other things unrelated to the people's business, the issues kept going forward and got worse. So I'm very passionate about giving back to the people of Florida, and I intend on fighting to get into the Senate on November 8th. And when I say something and my mind is set to do it, I usually win. And I don't think it's going to be any different this time. It's just a matter of the people of Florida listening to all of the candidates that are qualified through the Florida Division of Elections. And then I think they're going to be able to make an easy decision on who goes to Washington to represent them.
Very well. Now, you said you have stated that you feel that the Republican Party hasn't treated you fairly. Now, can you elaborate on that? Who in particular hasn't treated you fairly, or what do you plan to do about it?
Well, generally, both parties, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, they never really support anybody unless you're already in office. We already saw what happened with Donald Trump. And I want to make this clear. I don't agree with many things that Mr. Trump has said. However, talking about how he was treated, we can see how an outsider coming in that's not been in politics, how they've treated him. And now they're treating me the same way. They are only interested in keeping control of the Senate, and they're not putting what's most important, and that's the voters to decide who should go as a Republican to the Senate. I have not been treated fairly. I'm not going to rehash what I said in my speech. It was very clear, and I'm going to leave this up to the Federal Elections Commission in Washington, the Florida Division of Elections in Florida, and the Senate Ethics Committee, if they choose to go forward. And I'm going to leave it to them to decide if I was in any way treated either illegally or unfairly. In the meantime, while that's happening, I'm going to focus on the issues, and I'm going to focus to do what I need to do to get the people of Florida to listen to my views, the important issues, so we can go forward and get past this this problem that we have right now with the sitting senator that doesn't seem to understand what it means to go to Washington and serve the people of Florida in that Senate seat.
Now, I've done some check-ins on write-in candidates during our history, and I found that many write-in candidates have actually been elected to office. Now, within the last year in the state of Florida, the Supreme Court ruled that write-in candidates are no different than any other candidates. Now, why do you think they don't get as much media coverage as your regular candidate?
Well, first of all, I would encourage people, including the media, to look into write-in candidates in U.S. history. There have been many candidates that are write-in candidates that have made it to office and been successful. Now, one particular senator, I believe, from South Carolina, served for 50 years, Mr. Thurman, and he was a write-in candidate. There have been numerous write-in candidates in U.S. history that went on to be actually voted in office and did a great job, terrific job. In Florida, there's been a stigma about write-in candidates, and it shouldn't be there. Now, specifically, let's look at Marco Rubio. Look at the job he did, and he wasn't a write-in candidate. And he worked part-time, 15% voting record, flip-flops on every issue, and has to have, without question, probably the worst record on the Senate floor, and probably of the entire history of the state of Florida as a senator. So back when he was elected, there were probably write-in candidates that would have certainly done a better job than that. So I hope that the media will finally break this stigma with write-in candidates. And the interesting thing I want to mention here also is that the two congressmen that were running, who bailed out of the election process, and they were both Republicans, they were raising a lot of money, and it was gauged on the Federal Election Commission's records that they sent in. Now, I'm a self-funded candidate, and I'm now going to start reporting. But the point is, I find it interesting how they, both congressmen, were running and raising all of this money, millions of dollars, and that's how it's gauged about getting into the polls. And then all of a sudden, they walk away from the people that gave them the money. I don't know enough about that issue, but I find it interesting that that's how it's gauged on how much money they were raising. And they just walk away from it, and they had coverage. So the whole thing is ridiculous, to tell you the truth. What's important is that when somebody's qualified, including a write-in candidate, as the Florida Supreme Court said, we're all the same. The people of Florida deserve to hear the positions that each candidate takes on the issues. And that's what's important, and I hope the media will understand that this is very important, and they are very important to the process. The media have always said, second to the military, the media is right there, and they are so important. Every journalist, every writer, every news organization, without them, we would be in big trouble. And I've always thanked the media, and I've always thanked the military for me being free and the rest of us living our lives every day. They have a tough job, the media, but it's important that they try to get past this stigma for write-in candidates. It's a wish and a hope that I will be able to break this cycle, and they will start to begin to give coverage to not just myself, but to many writing candidates that could be successful as elected officials.
Now, I also know that you're really big on giving back, and I heard you say that if you were elected to the Senate, you will give back a big amount of your paycheck annually and give that back to the community. What are your intentions?
Well, I'm glad that you brought that question up. I was in a debate in the University of Central Florida approximately 2.5 months ago, and it's a wonderful college, by the way, the University of Central Florida. There's about 60,000 students. It's the largest university for undergraduates, and I'll tell you, they really treated me with such respect, and they were so professional. They were just wonderful young students there. But I'll tell you, in that debate, I made it clear, and if I tell you something, you can take it to the bank. I said that I would give up $100,000 a year for the next 6 years, and if I'm elected to a second term, I'll do the same thing. I've been fortunate enough in business to work hard, and I don't need the money. And if that $100,000 goes in, it will be deducted. I won't give it, it'll be deducted from the Senate salary. And I want the state of Florida to be able to set up a fund so other people that are fortunate can also put money towards that fund to help many issues in Florida, but starting with the school system. Okay. Now, I also was asked by the moderator that I believe that other political candidates should do the same, and my answer was no. I don't want this to be an issue where I'm trying to win points. A lot of candidates cannot do it. A lot of political people that are serving are serving from their heart, and they shouldn't have to give up any money because I'm doing it. And I will say one thing about Mr. Rubio, though. We know he won't give back his salary, even though he only worked part-time. We know that's not going to happen, but at least the state of Florida can see one senator that's going to go there and represent them, and really, I will do what I said I'm going to do, and I'll give back $100,000. Okay, he took the $175,000 with no problem. Didn't work full-time, no problem. But I'm going to go ahead and give back $100,000 for the next 6 years, and if I'm reelected again, I'll continue to give it back, but less the federal taxes. Okay.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
For sitting down and sharing your opinions and your views on some of these issues. We will be doing many more videos, as I stated earlier, so we will have.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.